I was telling Peggy, we gotta hurry through this tonight, because Hulk Hogan was breaking news this afternoon. Hulk Hogan is speaking at the RNC.
Is he gonna tear off his T-shirt?
They shut Bonanza right off the air.
Not Bonanza.
Yeah.
Criminal. All right, I am going to call this July 18th Ordinance Review Committee meeting to order. There are 5 of us present: Roger, Eric, myself, Peggy, Dave, and Matt Newross. We do have quorum. Steve and George both said they had previous commitments, so we are off, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so this is our first meeting in July, and we have to do election of officers, review our bylaws, and our mission statement, as we suggested last time.
Election of officers. I'll make a motion to nominate Peg as chair.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Any discussion?
All in favor?
Double I.
Okay. Next motion.
I nominate the chief as
Co-chair.
co-chair. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Double I.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we need a recording secretary.
Nope.
No secretary.
Do we have to make it, since it's a new thing, just make it public that we're
Yes,
using?
I should make it public. We are using YouTube as our secretary. We're not required by law to have written minutes, so YouTube will be our secretary. And we are good with officers.
Yes.
Yes.
Here we go.
So we're good. I'll give everybody a minute and we can read over, you can look over the mission statement that I have attached to our agenda and our bylaws real quick. The one thing about the bylaws that I had actually spoken with Lindsay about was the fact that, remember we went through a thing where it was when we were voting on our articles. And it came to pass that somebody had a problem. We didn't have enough people. What was a quorum and how many people are on the committee and so on and so forth. So I was thinking, okay, maybe we should have something in our bylaws that says how many people are on the committee. That is not up to us. That is up to the select board. So right now, apparently, Lindsay had informed me that I think you had made a motion somewhere that said 7 people on the committee. The whole board approved 7 people for the committee. But at the end of the day, if they wanted to approve 30 people and appoint 30 people to our committee, they could do that. We're just an advisory committee.
I could be having a senior moment, but I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I don't remember making that motion. Did I?
She pulled it up from some minutes. It was a while ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was
Not
not
last meeting.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no, it was not recent. But again, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because it's not our decision.
Okay.
So we'll just look them over. If anybody has anything they want to add or subtract.
But you're saying, I'm sorry, but you're saying right now we're holding with 7,
We're 7.
Okay.
And the board says 7. So,
which would mean 4 is a quorum?
yes. And I'm not sure that's in here, but we're gonna look again and find out.
Says at least 5 members. Committee shall
Yeah, we gotta
consist of
fix
at least
that.
5 members.
I think
Oh,
5
okay.
because we had 9.
Oh,
Right.
That's why we went
Oh,
with
I
5.
see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so we're gonna actually go through this and make changes.
Yes.
I thought you were giving this to us, telling us this
Pull it
is
up.
what we are. First time I saw it.
Okay.
It says we're gonna elect the secretary under section 4.
Yeah, we're gonna have to switch them around a little bit for sure. All right, let me. Okay. All right, let's start with the mission statement. Everybody want to look at that and make sure that they are A-okay with the mission statement. If I don't have to pull that up, I won't. I know there's going to be some on the bylaws, but.
I'm good.
So, again, just.
Sure. Yeah.
Is it the town charter? Is that what it is?
Yep, in
Okay.
accordance with the current approved town charter. Yep. I actually, as far as the mission statement, guys, Eric just pointed out that as well as develop new ordinances in accordance with the current approved town charter. I actually think that should not only say, maybe both, but at a minimum, it should as well state the comprehensive plan.
That's what I thought we were working off of, was the.
Yeah, it is, for
comprehensive plan,
sure.
So that's what I thought.
Yes,
Wasn't sure if
Yes.
that should say that.
it is, it should. So, you think we should, everybody okay with adding that or?
Well, are we developing or are we recommending? Or is it the same? You know,
I
if you,
would
if you
say-
read it and somebody says, well, you're developing new ordinances. Well,
We're not.
Well,
We're
Well,
not.
sometimes we
Oh, I thought
are.
we just did.
We
Didn't
may.
Just do the flood one, so
We
that.
did flood, so that's, we adopted a
Even
flood,
though
so
we
that is.
adopted it.
We adopted it, we didn't develop it, but it could come to pass that we might have to add an ordinance. Let's just say, one that I've had in my mind lately is an ordinance about camper trailers and how long a person can live in it. There's a lot of towns that have these ordinances now because people are parking their camper trailer.
but
on the
we're
lot.
recommending the change.
We are, but we would have to develop
Gotcha.
that
Okay.
in order to
Understood.
recommend it.
Develop a short-term rental.
Right,
Some towns
exactly.
have
As you grow.
a
you
fire
develop.
prevention ordinance.
Yep.
So again, I really am not sure about that, but I imagine you guys may be section 3.1.2A.
Yep.
Okay, so I don't,
Yes, that's
the
the
town
one,
charter, so-
that, let me play it.
those are
right
always
here.
the things I look at when
Yeah.
I look at some.
Yeah.
Ordinance, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it changed over time or not.
Nope, but good catch for sure. So on that first paragraph, we could revise that to say the mission of the ordinance review committee is to review existing ordinances and propose modifications, revisions, or revocations as necessary, as well as develop new ordinances in accordance with the current approved. I think we should say, because the ordinances really don't follow the charter. We're guided by the charter to develop this committee. But the ordinances really do follow the comprehensive plan.
Yes.
So I think it should say.
Charter also tells us we have to have 3 public hearings and get 75.
You're right. So it should say both then.
I think it should say both.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's put,
Or I guess we can, the first paragraph, like you said, is more the comprehensive plan. But
Yes.
then we can say process in accordance with the
yes.
town charter. or
Yes,
Follow the
yes.
charter to
Yep,
something like that.
yep, okay, let's do this. Okay, so. Oh, so, yeah. It does say in that last sentence, an ordinance reflects the will of the people and is only valid and enacted when approved by the voters in accordance with the provisions of the charter, statutes, and the Constitution of the State of Maine.
I like it the way it's on the screen.
Looks good. All right, so we'll save that. We'll click and save that.
Follow the charter and.
Yep.
Everything else is done.
Okay, so we're good. All right, now. Pull up the bylaws. There we go, bylaws. Okay. Okay. So the bylaws, section 1, purpose of the ordinance review committee. The purpose of the ordinance review committee is to review, revoke, evaluate, modify, or develop proposed town ordinances for consideration by the select board and/or legal counsel in accordance with the approved town charter. That is correct. All good with number 1?
Yep.
Section 2, propose and scope of these, purpose and scope of these bylaws. These bylaws aim to establish reasonable rules of procedure for committee meetings and promote the fair, orderly, and efficient conduct of the committee's proceedings and affairs. These bylaws shall govern the committee's practices and procedures except as otherwise provided by law, and shall be liberally construed so as to accomplish their purpose. All good with that?
Mhm.
Section 3 is membership. The committee shall consist of at least 5 members, all of whom shall be residents of the town of Lyman and of the age of 18. So that has to be changed.
4?
The committee shall consist of,
A majority of the members?
no, I think it has to say that it will consist of however many members the board appoints.
How about membership? The Board of Selectmen will appoint
Yep.
members to the committee.
Yep.
Some wording of that.
Consist of.
This is without pay? Staggered term without
You never
pay.
know what you volunteer for.
That the select board. I'm gonna shut that light out, guys, so we can see.
I get it. Oh, thank you, chief.
All right, so the committee shall consist of any amount of members that the select board appoints, all of whom shall be residents of the town of Lyman and of the age of 18. The members are voluntary and shall serve a 3-year staggered term without pay after being appointed by the select board. From time to time, as required by the volume of work assigned to the committee, it may be temporarily expanded to facilitate the completion of assigned tasks, such as rewriting the ordinance resulting from the implementation of a new comprehensive plan. Such additional members shall serve only as long as required by the workload. If any member fails without cause to attend 3 consecutive regular meetings or 75% of all meetings during the preceding 12-month period, a recommendation may be made to the select board that the member be removed from the committee. So we should, if we can't really put anything in there about how many people constitutes a quorum. I mean,
Right.
we had this kind of discussion because if the select board ends up appointing another person or two
Right.
more people.
What?
Just put more than 50% of the appointed members.
It's usually a majority, yeah.
A majority, so is it a majority of the board? That was the question that came to play, right? A majority of the board or a majority of the quorum? That was the question that came into play with that.
No,
vote.
the majority of the board is the quorum.
Right,
Yeah,
yes.
So the majority
So
of
if the committee
seven
had-
is four.
Right, so you
In the-
probably
in-
want
in
to
this
have
case.
odd numbers would make it, of course, even numbers, you'd have to say 50% or greater.
Well, no, if it was 8, then it would be 5.
Mhm.
9 still would be 5.
Mhm.
And we can determine that depending on how many people we have on the board.
So a quorum, should we put the wording that it just says a quorum shall consist of a majority of the board?
yeah.
Yes.
With that, tonight we would have needed 4 people. We had 7 on the board.
Yep.
Here we go again. Majority of the committee, I
Yeah.
guess. We did that in
Or-
charter. Unfortunately, it says committee and board all over the place in the charter, so I still use it. Okay. So is everybody okay with the rest of that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right, and the officers and duties of the committee shall elect a chairman, vice chairman, and secretary. We can change that. We could say, the committee shall elect a chairman and vice chairman.
And use YouTube.
Secretary can be at the discretion of the,
Without a
Other
secretary,
committee.
how do we get our minutes?
Or
It's just the video is the
the
minute.
video.
you
is the
you can sit and you'll watch yourself on
Go
TV.
on YouTube and watch yourself and move it back and forth.
I can keep watching myself.
You can, yeah.
So should we just put in there that, do we want to put the YouTube is the secretary, or do we want to put that a secretary can be either YouTube or
Appointed.
appointed by
Yes.
the board, elected by the
Yes.
committee?
Good idea.
You want to say YouTube or video recording?
Video recording is better.
It's much more accurate recording of what takes place anyways.
It is because you're not interpreting, right? Or elected or elected by the board, correct?
Yep.
By the committee. These officers will serve a term of 1 year, and new elections shall take place at the first meeting in July or as soon as possible thereafter. The chairman shall preside at all committee meetings, and shall have the authority to rule on questions of procedure, to maintain order and determine the course of proceedings, and take such other actions as may be necessary and consistent with these bylaws. The chairman also shall set the agenda for each meeting. In the absence of the chairman, the vice chairman shall have the same authority as the chairman. The secretary is responsible,
If applicable.
for all minutes, recording notice of meeting. If applicable,
Yeah, the second time.
at the end, it's that
At the
simple.
beginning, right?
Oh, yeah, okay, yep, I like that. All right, the town manager shall maintain a permanent record of all committee meetings and all correspondence of the committee, which shall be public record except as otherwise provided by law. And I just wanted to add a caveat here that we had discussed when we first started on ordinance review committee about how to communicate with the Google groups and all that. Because the town has to pay for the emails, that's why we didn't have our own email, and we had to go through that process of setting up a Google group. since that time, and just today, before the meeting started, I was informed that we do now, so comprehensive plan and ordinance review committee will have their own emails. None of us can access that email outside of the town hall. That email is going to be in that computer, and the email will be on the website under our committee. So if people wanted to email us, they could. But we'll basically use that computer. We'll check that email and make sure that nobody's talking to us there or whatever. We'll be able to, just like Google, if you guys are familiar with it, it's gonna be the same thing. We'll have a drive, we'll be able to share documents, we'll be able to project from that laptop now. I was hoping to be able to do it tonight, but she couldn't get the passwords and stuff from Brendan in time, so we'll be switching over from Google to Microsoft Outlook and OneDrive.
Good.
So I'll keep you guys posted on that as that happens.
So how are we gonna see the email?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
We'll be able to email each other. And basically through the OneDrive, we'll all have, well, actually, now that I say that, I don't know that we will have the access to the OneDrive. We'll have to be pulling the documents up here if nobody else can see them. But well, for the time being, we're gonna have to continue to use Google until Lindsay gets all the bugs worked out of it. I don't know still a lot about it, but that was the gist of it, that she wants everything on there. And because there's so many laws surrounding town emails and stuff like that, apparently.
Right, I guess I'm just, if I wanted to send you an email,
Right,
How would we do that?
hey, I'm not gonna make it to tonight's meeting.
right,
I think we still need to use.
Right,
yes, I gotta find that out from her, for sure, for sure. Section 5, regular meetings are to be scheduled and held as needed. Special meetings may be called at the discretion of the chairman or upon the request of the committee where a quorum is present, provided, however, that notice thereof shall be given to each member and to the public at least 24 hours in advance, and no business shall be conducted except for the reasons stated for the special meeting. A quorum is required for any special meeting to be held. Such meetings will be posted in the town hall and on the town's website and electronic signage. This does not apply to workshop meetings as described below, which I'd really like to talk about. All meetings shall be open to the public. Committee meetings will always take place at the communicated scheduled dates and times, except when canceled due to inclement weather or other safety hazard, or no members are able to attend. And this is the part that I wanted to speak about. If a quorum is not present at any regularly scheduled meeting except special meetings, the meeting will automatically be considered a workshop meeting. Attending members can conduct regular business and duties and assignments. However, any motions that are deemed necessary cannot be brought forth. Oh, there's a typo there. Brought forth or be voted on until the next regularly scheduled meeting where a quorum is present. We just talked about this in comprehensive plan. And I am of the opinion that if there is not a quorum here, I do not want to be here. There is no sense in working on something if we have to go back and rehash it all to vote on it at the next meeting.
But it does say attending members can conduct, not will, must.
Right.
So I think we're covered.
So we can cancel, we don't have to have a workshop.
Yes.
As long as that's clear to everybody here, I'm good with that.
I think the word can states that, no?
Just going to the sentence previous to that. Any regular scheduled meeting where a quorum is not present will automatically.
Be considered a workshop meeting.
That's if
So
we,
they're saying
if we
you gotta
have,
the meeting, whether you have a quorum or not, basically.
Right, right.
That's
That's
right.
how I read it. I read it to say that sentence specifically tells me that if we didn't have a quorum tonight, if one of us wasn't here and we didn't have the quorum, that we would have to do the workshop, is how I read that.
Which means we still could like go through all this with who's here, but you're right, at the next meeting.
At
they're
the
gonna
next
have to
meeting,
Read
right,
it or in between, and hopefully then we can vote on it, and there won't
Right.
be a
But
lot
we would
more
have to hash
questions.
it all over again.
we'll have to go back over it.
If there was one guy that showed up, we had just 5.
I think we're in a better spot than when we created these bylaws.
I did-
When
I
we
agree.
created these bylaws, we consistently did not have enough people showing.
Agreed,
We have not had that issue in some time.
I agree. And
I would almost recommend removing that entire verbiage.
I agree,
Quorum's not here, we cancel.
I agree. If a quorum is not present, the meeting will be canceled. I think that's how it should read.
You could make the meeting for the next week,
Considered canceled.
give time for everybody to get noticed.
All right,
And hold it
so,
instead of holding the meeting that night, hold it the next Thursday night.
And you can
Um,
Change that to a majority of it.
Because
okay.
we're gonna be on a pretty tight schedule to get through the whole ordinance.
For the 2026, I think we're gonna be good. I think we'll be good, as long as we're following the timeline, which we are. So I think we're good with that. If a quorum is not present, the meeting will be canceled. And then we'll get rid of that. Necessary. Cannot be brought or voted on. Present. Is that good? Delete that whole thing, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, again, if you believe you're gonna consistently have quorums, then
I think it's just not necessary. Okay, and then the last one,
you
the
might want
waiver.
to change that,
Oh,
or should
sorry.
you change that, I guess, other
where are
safety
we?
hazards or no
Oh.
members, which means none of us can come. I think we should say more that a majority, because you
Or-
can cancel it,
Majority, yes, you're right. Majority
or something to that effect, yeah.
of the members are able to attend, correct?
Are
Is that the right?
unable
Yep.
to attend,
Are
right, would it be?
unable to.
Would you
attend.
change that to unable, yeah?
Yep. Yep.
Does that make sense to everyone?
It does to
Yep.
me, for sure. Oh no, it's just doing a little formatting stuff here. We'll fix down, okay. And these bylaws or any provisions thereof may be waived, but only if they remain consistent with the applicable law and the town of Lyman charter. These bylaws may be amended at any time in writing by a majority vote of the committee. I think that perhaps we should put comprehensive plan here as well. These bylaws or any provisions thereof may be waived, but only if they remain consistent with the applicable law and the town of Lyman charter and comprehensive plan. The town of Lyman.
No, I don't think it would be the comprehensive plan, because in that, they're saying that these bylaws, which is all of what we just did, right?
Mhm.
Or any provision thereof may be waived, but only if they remain consistent.
Oh, okay,
With
yes, you're right,
The town of Lyman charter. and,
you're right.
uh,
Yes, you're right, Eric, for sure. Okay, so is everybody good with those?
Good.
Did we skip section 6? Not that I have a problem.
Did we?
but-
I don't
Any-
think we did.
We did.
Well, I
Would I
think
take a
you
quick
may have read it, I didn't read.
Any conflict or inconsistency between these bylaws and any applicable law or provision of the town of Lyman charter shall be resolved in favor of the town charter.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
Charter should always.
Yep.
govern.
I like it. Okay. Let's make sure. All changes saved. All changes saved. Let's do the same thing to the phone. All changes saved. Okay, so good. Now, we are on to review of petition signatures. Let's just talk about that for real quick for a minute. I know that right when I left with Sue today, we had, Buzz got 25, was it?
24.
24, and I was at 19.
I will have 10 by tomorrow.
Okay,
I think I have 10 also.
okay, let's do this. 10 plus 10
Didn't George
plus
email you?
24 plus 19. 10, 10, 10, 10, 24, 19,
Now,
9. Oops.
The firemen over there don't like you or what?
9. So we're at 72.
You would
and
think they
George
all sign it.
said-
not, there,
Who's the
you'll be
fabricator?
amazed at
Oh,
how many
Steve
don't
Marola.
actually live in
He
Hyde.
says I have.
Is that right?
13. Oh,
13.
Is that
So
what it
we
said?
are good.
My
So
brother-in-law
I
just
now have
retired from
13.
Arundel.
Yep.
Right?
Plus 13.
Yep.
So we're up to
Okay, yeah.
85 signatures.
Yay.
That should give us plenty.
How many we
with
got?
85. 85.
That should give us enough,
That's
so that
enough.
gives us a little buffer.
It does, for sure. So
All of mine should be good.
once those are in, everybody can turn their petitions in now if you haven't, and she'll go through those and make sure they're all good. And then we need to talk about public hearings and schedule our public hearings.
Quick question.
Sure.
Can we be notified if we're getting signatures that are not good? So that we don't continue? Because I think we're gonna have to do this many times.
We are.
And I'd hate to go back to the same people if it's not, you know.
Yes, for sure.
So
And
there's some way,
actually,
you know.
Sue, you can go to Sue because
Okay.
Sue is the one that actually checks them and makes sure. And she's the one that notarizes it and all that stuff. So if you go see her, and she showed me mine today as well. So I did have one guy that he's like not even,
I stood out.
I don't know why he was at the dump putting trash there, but, well, yeah, I guess I do know why he was putting trash there, but, you know, whatever, so. But yeah, go see Sue and she'll tell you. But I also did notice standing at the dump with getting signatures. I've done it both ways. I had this past time for the map, I had a sign, I put a dry erase board and I put Town of Lyman petition and I got way more people
Really?
come sign the petition. People are so hesitant to sign petitions right now.
Right, because you have to be off
Yeah.
over
You
away.
have to be
too.
away from
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And they don't know if you're, gonna try to change their
Oh.
the way they vote or their party or whatever again, you know what I mean? So they were really hesitant to come sign, but the whiteboard did help, so,
I stood out
That's
right
good.
out in front of the town hall.
yeah, did you?
Well, you were town resident?
Yeah, but one thing I wanted to bring up too, that Steve had, brought up to me. The map, he was getting signatures, and the map that we are proposing, somebody had a problem with the fact that it did not show the measurements on the map. I wish I had brought my map and I did not.
But it's going to, right? And it has to show like how much an
No.
inch is.
No,
Oh, really?
actually, it does not. So let me just pull it up here. Are there measurements around the district, the commercial district, saying 1,500 feet on each side of the road on that commercial district?
No.
So on the crayon map, it shows there's measurements, and basically it's 1,500 feet on either side of the road does anybody have their map?
Yeah.
Is
I do.
that from the center line or the edge of the road?
I was just reading all that. I really-
That's something we're gonna have to define.
Oops. I think it was in there somewhere. I was reading.
I for some reason cannot ever get ordinance review. Maybe it's not here. Cemetery.
I don't think this is the one that we went around with.
Yep, that is the one. Now see, on the crayon map right here,
Yeah,
it shows 1,500, 1,500, and I think right here it shows 500 and 500. Trying to pull it.
but having the plot lines though will
The
help with
tax
that.
map, that was my point that I was trying to make. The new map that we are proposing has the tax map overlay on it. So it doesn't matter if those lines are on there or not. Because first of all, at the end of the day, we don't do disputes about, how much land and the border disputes and all that stuff. We don't deal with that. And on this map, on the new map, you can see where the tax map overlay, where the lots are and where it is splitting that lot. So it's basically not needed.
It don't matter, because we're gonna have to change it in 2 years.
Well, it is a possibility that it will get changed again,
Yeah.
but I can't get my.
So, and again, just for my understanding then of this, because
Yep.
I see a lot of green. Is that considered residential district?
Yes, it is, yes.
So all this is not residential commercial? I thought it was.
No, well,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no. Just this part is commercial, just the
Okay.
yellow.
Huh,
And this is all residential, and this little part in here is general purpose.
okay.
All the white is general purpose.
Yep. But that's, I think, kind of, that little spot in between the commercial, and that's what I think is kind of hokey, that part that goes up into that green on that map. I think that's a little hokey, but it is what it is. So let me look here. All right, so here we go, guys. Look up here. Okay, here we go. It's hard to probably see it here, but. And see those measurements, the 1,500 in the
Yes.
commercial on both sides? That's what that person was suggesting, was that needs to be on there. But the crayon map does not have the tax overlay.
The crayon map is also not scalable.
It is, and it says that right on the crayon map that it is not to scale. So I just wanted to bring that up in full transparency, make sure everybody was aware, because that question could come
Oh,
up to you.
so it wasn't 1 inch equals 4,000 feet?
Yeah, and I don't know why they put that up there.
That's the scale usually that you would
Well,
use.
the crayon's not as accurate as it should be,
Oh,
as
okay.
Crayola would let somebody do.
Okay, so we're good with that, and we've got enough signatures. So I really think that we should take a look and decide when we're going to do public hearings. And how far are we currently? Today's the 18th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Our next meeting is August 1st, and that is not enough time to get out notices. So the meeting after that would be August 15th, and we could make that our first public hearing. If everybody is good with that, we could basically just have our regularly scheduled meeting that night. We would come in and it would just, the first part of the meeting, we'll say for now.
We could come
opening
in
our
at
public
6,
hearing.
a half hour early,
We could, yes, and make it a
Yeah.
6 o'clock meeting.
make a 6 o'clock
Yeah.
meeting, and give the public meeting a half hour. Usually that's plenty of time.
Keep
Plenty
the
of time.
agenda light
Yeah.
on the
Right,
meeting
keep
side.
it, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So is everybody okay with August 15th?
Yes.
Okay. And do you guys want to schedule the other two now, or do you want to hold off and see how that first one goes?
We might be able to, I might be better off waiting.
I think so too.
So what do you mean on how it goes?
Well, it might come to pass that somebody suggests something, or maybe they say, people come and say, I can't make the August 15th meeting, can you do one on Saturday,
Okay.
or something like that?
No, that's, I was wondering what,
Yeah.
what would come up that would.
Did you say
We
something?
got five meetings in August. Should we hold an extra meeting?
First and third are our meetings.
Yeah,
First,
but
first-
then we could hold one the 29th.
Oh, you mean another public hearing?
Well, a regular
Or a
meeting,
regular meeting?
a regular meeting. that-
If
Yeah.
you guys want to do that, I'm
We don't-
totally fine.
I worry about falling behind and not getting everything done, because we're gonna hit some sections that are gonna be
That are
tough
gonna
to
take
get
us a
through.
long time. Yes,
So,
I agree
If
with
we
that.
jump to the 29th and we hold a meeting, a
Sure.
regular meeting, then the following meeting would be a week later, but
Mhm.
it
Sure.
would put us ahead by one meeting.
Yeah, for sure. If everybody wants to do that, that's fine.
Mhm.
August 29th, can you
Sure.
make that happen?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll put that on the books. August 29th.
Is
Okay,
that the Thursday before Labor Day?
yes, it is. I think you're right, Matt. Yes, it is.
Maybe an issue for me personally.
Okay. All right, why don't I do this? The 29th, I will reach out to the other two members and make sure they can make it. We'll keep it penciled in for the 29th. If for some reason those other two members can't make it, then we'll say, forget it, we'll go to the following.
Why wouldn't they're gonna be making meetings here sometime.
I would think they would, yes.
So we'll see them and
Yep.
we'll find out, but I
Sure.
mean. the
So we'll keep the
29th, it
29th,
makes-
and whoever can make it can.
I just worry about not getting through the whole, because we're gonna hit snags in.
Oh, yeah, there'll be.
A lot of
areas
these.
Where you're gonna have to do
15.
research.
Public hearing.
Every time I see like a MSR, I'm going, okay, I gotta go read that just to understand what.
Yeah.
And then 29th. Extra, okay. All right, onward and upward. I will reach out to Lindsay and make sure that we get all the appropriate things out to everybody to notify them of the public hearing. Okay, so review of sections 1 and 2, here we go. We're off. Yay. All right, I am gonna pull up. Now, let's see, Buzzy, I can't remember if you were here or not, but I know Eric was not here Matt was here when we first started. Remember, we started way back. November of 22, I think it was. And here we are, August of 24. We actually started at the beginning and we started going through. And it wasn't until February of this year, I think it was January or February of this year, that I was like, okay, we gotta pump the brakes. We really gotta just take care of LD 2003. That's when we stopped in the book and
Yeah.
said, let's go take care of ADUs and
Yeah.
come back. So here we are, we're back. And I am going to pull up what we did then so that we can all look at it. I'm in the wrong one here. USB, working draft. All right. She's thinking. We can all follow along here.
You know what, Peggy? Actually, I think I was here,
You were?
because
Yeah.
I'm marked up on my
You're all
book.
marked up. There you go. Mine was too.
Well, I just did this, so was, I wasn't.
So if I was here, Dave was
I
here.
did mark it up.
That's good. You got you thinking. Okay, so Article 1, short title 1-1. We had stricken the word zoning ordinance of the town of Lyman. Oh, I'm sorry, I bet you guys on the wrong page here. We struck zoning ordinance of the town of Lyman and we put town of Lyman zoning ordinance.
You sure I wasn't here? That's exactly what I wrote.
And the blue parts, it just for reference, yellow is strike, green is add, blue is table. Okay. 1.2.1, the Lyman zoning ordinance adopted on January 27th, 1976 and amended through June 8th, 2022. That date has to change to November 8th of 2022.
It was adopted on November 8th of 2005, according to this.
Yeah, and
Was the last time it was adopted, right?
well, that's when they started this list, but the last time it was amended was on the front page
Right.
here. Yeah.
Right, November 8th, 2022.
Yeah.
But this date is different than that date, though.
Yes, because that's when ordinances started, was 1976.
Okay. Well, then should that not say amended instead of adopted? I don't know, I'm just asking. It says adopted, and that's what this says, adopted on January 22nd.
That, my guess is that list is probably a lot longer.
Okay.
I don't know
I
why
guess
they
just the
only
wording,
went back to 2005.
the wording where it says adopted,
Mhm.
that should just be amended, right?
No, because the original ordinance was adopted in 76.
Right, but
Yeah.
this says it's
Amended
adopted
through
in
what?
November 8th of 2005.
But it
I'm
was the
saying it should
previous,
read amended, not adopted. No?
I-
guess-
No, yeah, we're just changing, it should read the zoning ordinance adopted January 22, 76, and amended through November 22 this year by.
Okay,
and then the last one should be November. I think that this, up here on this front page
It's
should-
November 8th.
of 22. Oh, see, it says already, no,
where?
further amended November 8th, 2022 on that first page, not reflected in this copy.
So
So,
can I ask another question, just to make
Sure,
sure I'm
of course.
understanding? So once we do this, this will now be adopted as the newest one,
yes.
but we won't put that anywhere in there except for on this page.
I actually think what we're doing is amending the
Okay.
ordinance.
So
It will
then,
be
It'll be adopted
as.
once it's voted, correct? It's voted, it's not, it's amended by us, adopted by the voters, is my understanding, correct?
I would think so.
we
Yes.
can amend something and not have them go to vote on it?
Well,
It
I,
has-
I think
So then it's always adopted.
I think the voters
Not
are
always.
approving
Well, I know,
our
but-
amendments.
Right.
I think you adopt something initially,
Right,
and then you amend it throughout, and the voters have and will approve or disapprove the amendments.
so I guess that was the only reason I asked on that first one, because it says adopted November 8th, 2005.
Yeah, it could
And
be
that's-
something that happened, actually,
That's
let me
not,
look.
if you're saying we should say it's amended, then we should change that word to amend it.
2005, let me just check this.
That's all I was trying to get at is, it says it's adopted, but we're saying it was adopted in 70, whatever. So that's all.
76, I think.
Oh, yeah, see here, it says, where were you up here?
See, that's why I'm asking.
Wait a minute.
I will
Says
learn
right here.
through the process.
I have a list
Mhm.
from the CEO's office and the town manager that these are all the changes that have been made. and it says the entire zoning ordinance was amended in
11E.
on 11/8 of '05.
So we should change that
So-
word to amend it.
It looks as though that 2005 date should say amended.
I mean, we can ask them to be, to make sure, but that's what it seems like, I think, like you said. Matt.
It should say,
Everything after that original adoption is an amendment that's getting approved.
Yeah.
As we go along, whether it's the whole thing or just one section, it's still an amendment to the original adoption.
Well, it's
That's
kind of-
just,
amended.
If it was truly.
It
I
depends
know,
on
we
how-
just spent 10 minutes on that, I'm sorry.
All right.
2005, the other one should have been repealed.
Yes, you're right. So we're gonna put, no, we don't need to add that here because it's already.
Yeah, and if you
But
want
we
to
have
check
to
with
put-
them at the
In
town.
two
to
thousand five,
confirm.
they
Yeah.
rewrote the whole ordinance.
That's what we're doing. Right?
There isn't much in there that was left.
So November 8th, we're gonna put in this section, 1.2.1, we're gonna switch that to November 8th of '22. No, wait a minute.
2005, oh no, we're not. We're
The
leaving
Lyman
that.
zoning
Nope.
ordinance adopted on January
That stays
22nd,
the same.
1976, and amended through,
November 8th of 2022. All we have to do is
No.
change that word from adopted to
because it says
amended.
is hereby repealed.
Oh,
When they
So we're
adopt-
gonna have to, I'm gonna have to
oh,
circle
so
this.
that
in
is
half.
the adopted date.
It is.
So
what
that's,
it is.
so
That's
then
why it
what's
says that.
before this was repealed then?
Yeah.
Somewhere in our,
I'm gonna go back and change that, and I will check those facts with Lindsay.
okay.
So-
Yeah, we may need to change this to a different repeal date.
Yeah.
And then when we do this, of course, change it again to the
Yeah.
new repeal and adoption date.
I'm gonna make a note for that.
Sorry.
No, don't be, I'm glad you said that. All right, so. Okay,
I think in 2005, they had wrote a whole new ordinance.
Yeah, that makes sense. So
it does say that in my list.
Huh?
It does say that in my list.
Right.
Yeah, that was the
So-
one Mike and Morris wrote.
Okay, so then 1.3 effective date. This ordinance shall become effective on, and we removed the date of its passage or amendment, and we added to read, this ordinance shall become effective on the most recent amended date listed on the title page of this ordinance. And then the authority, I went back and I actually checked the references in those statutes, and I remember doing that myself. That was one of my homework assignments. I did check it, it was right, but we switched it around and we made it a different layout. It's all the same information, it's just a different layout. And Eric, I will send you this copy of this, what we did. As soon as we're done tonight, so that you can look at it again.
I had a question there anyways. Do we
Okay.
need to research this or not? Because I didn't know what all that was.
Yes,
so.
yes, exactly. And I should have said that. I forgot that you weren't here when we did this, so I should have sent you this ahead of time, but I will send it to you after this meeting and you can kind of look at it again. But going forward, after we're done this section, you'll be as new to it as
And
we
that's
are.
all still the same, nothing's changed.
Correct. So then we just renumbered and rebulleted the 1.5 purpose. That was fine.
I have a question on that.
Sure.
Again, little,
Up here,
in the purpose.
Yeah.
Because it says the purposes of this
the
ordinance.
purpose
are.
of this ordinance.
Because you use an R, would it
Of
be
the,
without an S?
it should be the purpose of these ordinances,
Okay. that
the
would be
purpose of these ordinance, correct?
it's only one.
Oh, it is, you're right. It is
Right.
only one. The
Well, but
purpose
the
of this
purpose
ordinance
is-
is,
So if you use is, that's only one thing. If you use are, that
it's
could be
more than
more
one,
than one.
yep. So we're good there.
No, I think you want R, but I wasn't sure.
It's only one ordinance though.
The purpose of this ordinance is to implement, because you're taking all that, A, B, and C.
Yeah.
To implement the positions of the town's comprehensive plan.
Mhm.
To encourage the type of growth as identified. So there's more than one purpose, though. That's what I'm saying. So I think the only thing I had removed was the S on purpose.
I think it needs
Because
to be removed.
The
You're right.
purpose of this ordinance are, which means more than one. It can be
Correct.
more than one thing, so.
Yep, the purpose of this ordinance is to implement the provisions of the town comprehensive plan to encourage the type of growth as identified within the zoning districts, to further the maintenance of safe and health conditions and the general welfare, prevent and control water pollution, protect spawning grounds, fish, aquatic life, bird and other wildlife habitat, control building sites, placement of structures and land use, and conserve shore cover, visual as well as actual points of access to inland waters and natural beauty. 1.5.2, this ordinance does not grant any property rights. It does not authorize any person to trespass, infringe upon, or injure the property of another. It does not excuse any person of the necessity of complying with other laws and regulations. This, before we move on to section 1.6, Dave and I are both on comprehensive plan, and it was suggested that we add something to this section about comprehensive plan and reevaluating the comprehensive plan to make sure that our zoning ordinance is complying with our comprehensive plan and making sure that we're meeting those goals, I guess you could say. I am not convinced that that is an ordinance thing. I don't think that belongs in the zoning ordinance. The more I've thought about it, the more I believe that that is a charter thing. The zoning ordinance is supposed to follow the comprehensive plan. But making us reevaluate to make sure that this complies, that's a charter thing. I don't think that belongs in this ordinance.
Right, well, again, we don't have the charter to go by either, so we're sort of relying, I think, on the connections we have with the charter commission to make sure we're following the charter. That hasn't yet been approved.
Yes, the charter, I mean, we know we were on the charter committee together, but, if we're out of compliance with the charter, somebody's gonna let us know. Lindsay would definitely let us know, the townspeople let us know. But as far as stating in the ordinance something that says that it is required for us to make sure we're complying with the comprehensive plan, that's not a zoning ordinance thing. It's a charter thing.
That's a
That belongs in the
problem,
charter.
but that was,
Directing a committee is what the charter does. It directs the committee to look at the zoning ordinance and make sure it's in compliance with the comprehensive plan. That doesn't need to be in the zoning ordinance, unless you feel different.
No.
I think that's fair.
I agree, I don't think
Yep.
it needs to be there. I think it already says in here somewhere that we use that to guide us to do this,
Exactly. Exactly.
that would be up to the charter to put that in. not
Right,
us.
I agree.
That's what you said.
Yeah. Okay, we'll scratch that. Onward and upward, validity and severability. Should any section or provision of this ordinance be declared by the courts to be invalid, such decision shall not invalidate any other section or provision of this ordinance. We checked that, that was fine. Conflict with other ordinances. Wherever a provision of this ordinance conflicts with or is inconsistent with another provision of this ordinance or any other ordinance, regulation, or statute, the more restrictive provision shall control unless otherwise indicated. We left that be. 1.8, amendment and procedure. Basically, we redid this whole section. You remember this, Dave, don't you? That we pretty much decided back then, that this we took all this out because it's controlled by the charter.
And we went to 3.15.3 of the charter.
Yes, and that's what we added in. See the green section, Eric? That's
Yep.
what we added. An amendment may be initiated in accordance with the town charter, starting at 3.15.3.
Yep.
Proposals for new modifications or revisions of the ordinance revised November 8th, 2022 of the town charter.
Yep.
So we removed initial petitions, repetitive petitions, and then the whole next part is contract
I
zoning.
did.
Oh, go
No,
ahead.
I'm just kidding. No, if it's
Did you?
removed, I don't need
You removed-
it.
right.
I had all kinds of changes though.
So then we went all the way down and took out, obviously, contract zoning,
Yeah.
which dumped us
Yeah.
right squarely into Article 2. And as far as Article 2 goes, the establishment of districts, we took out shoreland as 2 words and added it back as 1 word, shoreland. We left pretty much everything the same in the rest of that section down to 2.2.
So
Look,
can I ask some questions
Sure.
as we're
of
doing?
course,
Just again, as I went through.
Yeah.
Is it smart for us to have different districts or?
Well-
Like I went through and just looked at what are zoning districts, just
Right.
what is in, I just wrote a list of them that came up, village, rural, industrial, mixed use.
Yep.
Special district, agricultural, civic, recreation, resource protection. And I didn't know if some of these fall into that or if we even need them as we grow or.
so this is the thing. The map that we are doing right now is, it replaces, it's just a better version of our Graham map. It's much cleaner, people can go online, it's got the tax overlay, it's great. But as far as the districts, I have a strong feeling that our town needs to be rezoned. I think we need to add some districts. I think that we need to be smart about getting in front of growth instead of just letting it happen. I think we need to think about those things. But that's out of our bailiwick. That is not for us. I believe implicitly that Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission should weigh in on that. I think they need to come in and say, yeah, we looked, and this is what we feel. Whether we do it or not, whether we take their advice or not,
And
is fun.
We
We
should-
vote on it as a committee and we move.
we should be looking at taking care of our own destiny. I mean, I can see getting some help and helping us do it, but our destiny should be our own.
Oh, I totally
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, that would totally be
That's
advising.
how.
advisory.
Comprehensive plan is working it.
Yeah,
Um,
They just do, this is what we would recommend for you guys to look at or do.
yeah.
Because your size of, this is how many people are now in your town, and we've noticed you've grown from this amount to this amount in 8 years, and yeah, you should plan for the future for sure.
So just to add to that, I think that this has been my problem since jump with Ordinance Review Committee. Comprehensive Plan was not a sitting committee when Ordinance Review Committee started.
Oh,
So it was kind of like the cart before the horse, you know what I mean?
yes.
And I strongly felt that our comprehensive plan needed to happen first, and I still do, and that's happening. We just got our demographic data back from SMPDC, as you know, Dave. And what they're doing right now is they're taking all that data and smoothing it for us. And they give it back to us in this nice little compiled and said, here, these are our suggestions. And then comprehensive plan committee takes that data and changes the plan as needed. So I think that once that data comes back smoothed from SMPDC, I feel that Ordinance Review Committee should be privy to that data. And we should look at that data as a committee and decide if we want to look at redistricting and say, okay, let's add a village district, or let's add some conservation
Yeah,
land, or some
right.
farmland, or whatever. We went through this back in 22 or 23, early 23, I think it was. But everybody wanted to pretty much keep the districts just as they are and move on. I don't feel that way. I think we need to take a little more time looking at it.
You know, again, I think I like the idea of getting people who do that for a living
It's their
for
job.
other
Exactly.
towns and cities that can at least give you some advice on what they would recommend. Because I sit here, like I said, I don't know for sure what we need, what we don't need.
Exactly.
Alls I did is I went and researched what was out there that other
I did too.
towns
Yeah.
and cities use.
Mhm.
And I said, well, I'm not even sure what is a village district, you know,
Right,
so.
exactly, or transition district, and that, I know at the time when we started, that was one of the things Brenda was pushing for, was some of the transitional zones and so on and so forth. And I think those are really great things, but I'm not qualified to do that. It's definitely a submarine planning and
My
development.
understanding of a transition district would be, say we come up up Route 35 with a transition. It would be no big filling stations and no supermarkets, and it's restricted down to what can be in there versus the complete commercial zone.
Right.
Would be a transition
And
district.
if that's what they recommend, I think we should look at that. It doesn't mean that we have to do that. The good news is that Lindsay has said there is money for Ordinance Review Committee to pay SMPDC to do that. So if we decide as a committee, once we look at that data, that we want them to look at our map and make recommendations, then that's what we do. We will, of course, have to backtrack a little bit, but
Not to bog us down by any means.
No.
These were some of the conversations we had 2 years ago. At what point do we break that out and make it a separate discussion versus trying to get something like that changed in the entire ordinance change? Like we're doing with contract zoning, like we're doing with ADUs, like we're doing, you know,
what do you mean?
I would hate to go through this entire ordinance and put it out to vote for them to vote down all of our changes because they don't like that one specific.
We could pull it out. We could pull out things that we feel might be a little more controversial or, you know, but we can look at that before we
Yeah,
file, so.
So go through and make the changes that you reasonably think are right to the current wording. But then pull it out separately and add districts, change districts, move districts. I guess is my kind of.
Move districts. Wow. Eee.
So you think that we should leave it as is? You think we should just basically plow through to the end and then go back and look at the more controversial things? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, some of the,
Okay, I don't disagree with that. I do feel strongly that we need to redistrict for sure and rezone. I think that's,
I think we should definitely get the advice and, from someone who
it needs to be looked
is
at.
more expert in that area, not.
For sure, but this is the thing. And if you talk, most people say, hey, if it's not law yet, don't worry about it, so on and so forth. I've had a few different conversations with some of the townspeople, planning board people, so on. LD 1976 that we started talking about, it was vetoed by Janet Mills, and it's gone now. But LD 1976 was a big deal. It was gonna make LD 2003 look like child's play. And this is my fear, that we're gonna get all the way to the end, and then we're gonna have to start over. Because that's what 1976, it's gonna come back, we don't know when, we don't know what it's gonna look like. It's probably gonna be some watered down version of the old one. But they're forcing towns to look at their comprehensive plans and growth management. It's big on growth management, it's big on environment, and it's big on the elderly, making room for the elderly. And it'll come back, and when it does, we're gonna have to do this over. So I think, as you say, plowing through it, getting it done for 2026, and pray that that doesn't come back at us. If it does, then we deal with it when it does. But plow through it, get advice along the way, of course, SMPDC. Tell us what you think about zoning districts or whatever, because that's the big thing that I want Eric to understand is when we do add districts, your land use chart goes to hell. We gotta, it's,
Updated, that's all.
it's
New
a
colors.
big deal. It's a big deal.
We got all kinds of crayons. No,
So I think that for the purpose of this, for the purpose of the timeline that I created, we need to do just as Matt says. We need to plow through, we need to look at this as it is. We can, of course, get some advice, look at the data, but we need to plow through this. Get it done for 2026.
And I don't know how to quantify it, but I'm good with minor changes, but if we're gonna go and make a major change, it needs to be its own article.
The major
its own-
change is going to be mandated by the state. At this point, why not wait for the state to mandate it? There's gonna have to be major changes, but for us to make them now, we would never go through, I'm not convinced that we have enough time to redistrict and put in a new land use chart before 2026. I'm not convinced we can. And right now, we're not facing any mandates. We could breeze through this ordinance, page 1, all the way to the end, and I feel that we could make it through. But if we redistrict, I don't believe we will have. Not to mention the blowback we're gonna get.
Well, again, at some point, you gotta redistrict. And
We're gonna have to, but the state's
If
gonna
you-
have to mandate it.
But
Why? Why do we gotta wait for the state to mandate it?
you can do the
I don't
redistricting
understand
in a
that.
separate vote, right? You don't
We
have
could
to
do
have
it
it all
separately.
bundled together.
We could do it separately. I think that should be
I mean,
either an ad hoc committee at the end or a different, maybe if people want to stay on the committee and continue.
Yeah,
I mean, cause I look at this, I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't make any rhyme or reason
It does not.
how all
I
this came
100%
about.
agree.
it does, if you do, it does if you know the reason it was done.
So why is this all green and not everything else? Why not continue that?
Because
down
that's
South
general
Walk.
purpose.
Well, but yeah, why is this different than that? That's what I'm asking. Who changed this?
That was done with,
Back when the zoning map was first approved.
no,
No,
that was
That
done
was
after.
done by someone
That-
in the
that's-
town who brought it in
That's
front
a,
of
that's a
the
fairly new
people
map.
to change it. That's what I'm
2008
saying. It
map.
makes no sense why South Waterboro Road to this point is one district and only a little bit here.
And
And
same
then
thing
the
with
rest of
111.
it is not.
Same thing with 111.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I guess that's all I'm saying,
100% agree
so-
with you.
Why we want to wait to make improvements on that just wouldn't make sense.
It don't really make
Because
sense.
we have no idea when the state will do what they're doing. could be 4 years from now, 6 years from now.
And that's exactly the point, because the state will make us change it. They're going to make us change our comprehensive plan. They're not gonna make us change that map.
Right.
They're gonna make us change our comprehensive plan. And once that comprehensive plan changes,
Mhm.
other stuff is gonna be added to that. Things about environment and preserving certain waterways with our 6 waterways here. There'll be a lot of that stuff that has to change in the comprehensive plan, then change in the zoning ordinance.
But again, we have no timeline when that will happen.
We don't,
It could be 10 years from now when that happens. Who knows?
and it could be next week.
Right, that's what I mean. So we're gonna sit with this for 10 years or whatever until the state makes a decision? I don't think. we
No,
should do that.
I mean, I don't mind, like I said, I think we should,
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm okay if we tackle it. I just think it should be something separate. It should be a
Separate,
Separate article.
we can put it.
It would be a separate article,
Separate
yes.
article.
Yeah.
We can tackle it,
Yeah,
but we,
Well, I think we gotta do, at least move forward with something so that if they do change it, we may already be way ahead of the game, you know? That we may have
That's our
already
comprehensive
looked at a lot of that and said, we know we're growing because of the numbers that you have. And that would be good, I think, for us as a committee to see, because that does make a difference on things like that, changing, zoning districts or location boundaries of zoning districts, or things like that.
so pretty much everything from section 2 through, I think it was 2 through 7 perhaps. Yeah. Right up to the end of section 7. That is, everything in there will be affected by growth. Pretty much everything. From the districting, right down
yeah.
through everything on back lots and obviously the land use chart. That, if we're gonna pull it out, that's what needs to be pulled out.
I don't know if you remember when we went to the 5-acre zone. The 5-acre zone was adopted here in Lyman as a growth ordinance.
Mhm.
We were growing so quickly that the town selectman says, wait a minute, we gotta do something because it's overburdening our schools, it's overburdening our taxes on our schools. So we went to a 5-acre lot to slow down the growth. I think now it's time to shrink those lots. That we're not growing as fast. If the 5 acres worked as long as it needed to,
Well, it's gonna become a burden for us.
and,
We're gonna bear the burden of those taxes if we don't grow a little bit.
yeah,
And control our growth. We're in
So-
a very good
So,
time.
Somewhere
I think
else.
by changing our zones on our map, we also can change our lot sizes in those zones.
So I just want to hear from you guys what you want to do. Do you want to take sections 2 through 7 out and continue, 2 through 6, through the end of 6, up to 7? That is pretty much everything to do with growth and zoning and districts. Do you
And
want
do
to
that at
take
the
that
end?
out and do it at the end? Or do you want, and start with section 8, this is gonna change our whole timeline. So it's important to think about it. Do we wanna take it out and review it at the end, or do we wanna hammer through it now?
So why would it change our timeline?
It,
I would suggest that we continue on the current timeline. And when we get closer to the end, then we can decide, what are we gonna package? Are we gonna package Articles 2 through 7? Are we gonna package the whole thing? How are we going to package and bring it for a vote?
but talking about the growth is where we would like to see them come in and talk to us. So maybe by skipping that, we're gonna have some better input when we get to that section. There ain't one of us
I
here in
think
this
that's a good
room
idea.
smart enough
What?
to change that map.
Which
To
one?
because if we're going to do it, and then the comprehensive plan, because when are you gonna be done on that?
Well, comprehensive plan, see, that's the thing with comp, though. Comp does not have to be approved by the voters. Comp can go to town
Right,
meeting.
but we have to
So-
follow it, so
We
we
do,
can't follow it until we know what it is.
They
Yeah.
change ordinances at the
Exactly.
town meeting.
yes, yes. So either way, I don't mind either way. Like I said, I believe we
I
need to
think if we,
revisit.
because that is a big project,
Yeah,
It is a big.
and I think if we can wait to get more information from the
get
comprehensive
the more
plan,
information
and maybe
before we
even
tackle it.
a
do you
little bit
think,
more
Dave?
knowledge of what the state may be doing.
Well,
Wait for more information,
Take that up towards.
Yeah,
the
which
end,
is
and
forthcoming.
which,
everything else.
which is two through
That's why I
6.
can't
Yeah.
work on it
And-
then.
Go right to section 8 and keep continuing and go back to those sections when.
After
'cause
we
it's all-
get the
it's talking
information.
all about our growth.
Right.
And our growth is, like I said, our 5 acres was a growth ordinance without having a growth ordinance.
So
That was the purpose of it.
can I ask you a
How-
question?
I want to ask that question.
Before the 5 acres, what was it?
An acre?
An acre?
Yeah.
So, What
That's my,
And
Yeah.
before that.
so we got pretty much split here. We feel hammer through it, or
I'm good either way.
I'm good either way as well.
and again, I'll do it either way. I just think that this is the big part of it and we don't have like those numbers.
We don't have that, we don't have
It's
the
hard to
information on it.
say if you want to change anything.
Yeah, but the
Right.
problem, the reason I think we should, I lean towards taking out section 2 through 6. And I would like to get through it, but we're gonna have to do it from really high above. If we just look at this and say, don't think about growth at all, and then put at the end, when we're done, we've gone through all of it, then say, okay, let's go back to section 2 through 6 and hammer through it. We will have more information from comprehensive plan. We will be able to get SMPDC in here. I really don't think it matters to me. Like Dave said, I don't care which way we go. I really don't.
Becky,
Yes.
didn't the comprehensive plan talk about maybe around the developments putting 1 acre lots back in? I think the comprehensive plan talks about that,
No,
at least the old one.
no. I don't think it does now.
I'm gonna have
I
to
mean,
look
our
again.
comprehensive plan, it's milk toast. It really, I mean, it's
Well, that's why we're all improving, working to try to improve it, right?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, you
But
gotta keep doing it, and I agree.
I remember something in there about lot size.
I guess I have to weigh in one way or the other. And I really think we should just continue on our course, let comprehensive plan get a little bit ahead of us.
Yeah, but we don't get any of that information. It doesn't matter how far ahead, we don't know what they're doing.
That's right.
We don't
What do you
get
mean?
that.
Yeah,
How do
but
we
she's
know
on
if they're
com-
changing or working on it?
She's on comprehensive plan.
That's what I'm saying, but we don't get anything from comprehensive plan that says this is what we've done so far, so you guys can work off of this.
Only because we've just now gotten the demographic data. We're waiting for SMPDC to come back with that data. At a minimum, that smoothed data from SMPDC, we will need to go through this sections 2
I
through
agree.
6.
With that information.
So at a minimum, we need to let comprehensive plan digest that data and say, okay, this is what we've done with
Right.
that data.
So if that's what we need is
Right.
their information.
So if we take and just say, okay, comprehensive plan, let them do their thing and go through this 2 through 6. We're probably gonna skip a lot of it over. We can at a minimum just say, let's skip this, let's skip this, let's skip this. Then when we get that data back from COM, or if SMPDC comes and weighs in and tells us, then we can go back and
And
say,
just table it.
boom. Yep,
I'm
And we
fine,
can-
I am fine either way also. It doesn't, to me, it really doesn't matter. As long as we're moving forward and we
Right.
have information to actually make changes, or like you said, let's table this section.
right,
skip
and we
this
can go
section.
through as we go through and we're projecting up here, we can just put it in blue and say we've
Okay.
tabled that,
Okay.
we're gonna go back to
That's
that.
fine for me.
Okay. That's the deal. Let's do it.
Are we gonna finish section 2?
Yes, we are. And if it's something that we feel this is either a hot topic or something that's gonna take us some time, or we need more data, then let's just put it in blue and table it and come back to it.
I would agree. Research or whatever
Yes.
needs to be done, I would
Yes.
agree.
Exactly.
Just keep trying to move forward.
I concur.
There we go.
Establishment of district, shoreline district, residential, general purpose, commercial, residential. Boop, onward and upward. We're just gonna, let's just put this all in blue. And, oops. We will go over it. Oop, location of districts, we're gonna make this blue. All right, location of districts. Said districts are located and bounded as shown. I'm in section 2.2. Everybody following me?
Yep.
Said districts are located and bound as shown on the latest town-approved official zoning map entitled Zoning Map of Lyman, dated, that's obviously going to change. We'll have to highlight this because if it's changes in November, we'll have to.
So should we be consistent with the wording again? Does
Yes, it
because
should be.
The map says the town of Lyman zoning map.
Latest town of, oh, we can change that, yeah. The
Well, that way, if
latest
people's reading it, they can sort of, oh, I know what that is.
town approved official zoning map, so.
Entitled, it says entitled,
Entitled.
right? Zoning map of Lyman. I
Town
just
of
saw.
Lyman, Maine zoning map. Okay, let's change it to that. Yeah, I like that.
Well, it allows you to reference back to the
Yep.
actual name on the,
Town of
On the map.
Lyman, Maine zoning map, right?
yeah, that's how it's worded on that one. I don't know if the one we're messing
Lyman.
around is.
Can I see that again?
Oh, sure.
Is there a, yeah, okay, perfect. Lyman, Maine zoning map. Dated, we're gonna change that date. I don't wanna change it now because it might not.
November something 2024.
Okay, and then I think we're gonna, let's see, how big is this?
Are you gonna change?
Oh, yeah, we're gonna make it to section 3 tonight and then we'll
Do
call it
we-
a night.
We're gonna make the change on the date?
Yes, but not
Once
until
it's
it's approved in November.
Okay.
Or voted or not voted. And then 2.2.2, the official zoning map is incorporated herein by reference and shall be signed by the town clerk and the chairman of the planning board at the time of adoption or amendment of this ordinance, certifying the date of such adoption or amendment. Additional copies of this map may be seen in the town offices. Everybody okay with that one?
Yes.
2.3, uncertainty of boundary lines, where uncertainty exists with respect to boundaries of various districts as shown on the official zoning map, the following rules shall apply. Unless otherwise indicated, boundary lines shall be considered as lines paralleling a road, waterway, and shoreline or lot line, and at distances from the center lines of roads, waterways, shorelines, or lot lines as indicated by the official zoning map. So I think that we need to go back to that, I believe, because the map is changing,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, but in the absence of written dimensions, which what we have, the graphic scale on the
There
official
is no
zoning map.
scale.
Right.
But I think when we talked about this, I think we were trying to put, the nomenclature together to refer to go online and to get that, because that's where all the information is. I mean, let's not forget, this is basically a temporary map that we're going for,
Yes.
because it's not complete.
Right.
So I think if we put it in the article that it is temporary, and we're informing them to go to the online version, that's where they'll be able to get all the accurate information. That's where the scale will be. That's where, you see, it's interactive. I assume that it'll all be interactive.
Well, it is, but the interactive part of it it's just like this though.
Or you just zoom in
Online.
or something?
You can zoom in, but you can't
Click on a lot and find out the owner or.
right, it's not Google Earth. That version has to be, basically, it costs money. It's I think it's $5,000 a year or something.
I think we're leaning in that because that's the one that's going to give you the
Yeah.
names of 500 feet
Yes, exactly.
around when you're doing that.
Exactly.
So we have been talking about that.
And I think that is something that, again, part of this whole growth and SMPDC thing and so on and so forth, I really think that's something that we need to come back to
Okay.
and really can't change right at this moment.
So how are we going to handle, not to belabor it, but how are we going to handle the fact that this map doesn't have, well, it's temporary, that's how.
It is,
And
but
just because it doesn't have the information that the crayon map has, it's still a bridge to a cleaner version.
it is a cleaner version, and you can still go online and zoom in and say, this is where my property line is.
So this will have the dimensions?
No, it doesn't.
No, I didn't
have the
see, yeah,
dimensions.
we didn't see that,
So
right?
then how
No.
would a person know? Yeah, again, just as a citizen who usually doesn't do any of this stuff, how would I know if I went to this map, how far back this goes?
Because you can zoom in on the map and see exactly the tax overlay of this property.
But it's not gonna be accurate in that sense. To the actual foot, like this is 1,500 feet from here to here. I won't be able to determine
But that
that
map isn't to scale.
if I'm gonna buy this piece of land right here, and it goes past the 15 feet, well, how much of my property is past the 15?
The tax map tells you that though.
Oh,
The
where it
tax.
breaks.
Yes. the
Okay, that's
tax
what I
map.
thought this was, the
Yes.
tax overlay map.
No, this is the zoning map, but
Okay,
it has the overlay of the tax map.
okay.
So that's what,
So even online, you can't dig down deep into that information.
well, you can, but again, as Dave was saying, the Google version of the map, the town has to pay for that. And that's what they're trying to get through, so that people can basically go on and put waypoints and say, oh, that's 1,500 feet, or so on and so forth.
Right, I wanna do this, and I
Right,
need this much of a
exactly.
setback on it.
Yep.
No, okay, again, interesting to know that stuff.
Yep.
And I've never gone on, I'll have to go online and look at the one online.
And there should be a suggestion in there too that, you probably, if your lines are that important, you probably want to use a registered surveyor.
Right.
That's what I was,
You-
I thought
you know?
I read that in here, right?
Right.
That
I
there
mean,
wasn't
because
something referring
people are going to
that.
go, oh, well, it's,
Don't use
1,500
this
feet
for-
away because it says that.
Lot lines or something.
If it's going to be
Yeah.
that important of a decision, we should have a note in there somewhere.
As said by
Okay.
Lindsay, basically lot disputes, lines, are disputed in civil court. The town does not dispute boundary lines or anything like that. So if somebody's got a problem with their line and how much of it and so on and so forth, it has to go to civil court anyway. So the last two here for the night tonight is 2.4, division of lots by district boundaries. Where a zoning district boundary line divides a lot or parcel of land of the same ownership of record at the time such line is established by adoption amendment of this ordinance. The regulations applicable to the less restricted portion of the lot may be extended not more than 50 feet into the more restricted portion of the lot. Extension of a use into a more restricted portion of the lot shall require site plan review and approval by planning board, subject to the Article 8 of this ordinance. I am going to request that we table that and take that in when we relook at this section with Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission. I really feel that that needs to change. I think that landowners should have a little more say. If your lot falls on a district and teeters a district, I think the landowner should be given a little more than 50 feet.
Well, I guess, see, that's where you come into how big is the parcel? You know, if they have a small
Right,
parcel.
and that's when you're gonna have to go to a
mean,
surveyor
right.
anyway.
But if you have somebody who's buying something and they have a 40-acre parcel and 2 acres are in the less restrictive zone, do you really want to give them 38 more acres of less restriction?
That's right, but I think it needs to be finessed so that it's either a percentage
Right, I
or
would agree with
instead
you,
of feet or something like that.
Right,
I don't
know,
think it
that's what I
should
was
be
gonna ask.
all or
How did we
nothing,
come
you know
up
what I
with
mean?
50
Yep.
feet? So,
So I'll
That's
just
fair.
put that in blue for a table, and then the last one is continued uncertainty. Where continued uncertainty exists, a property owner may file an appeal to the Lyman Zoning Board of Appeals, which shall hear the case as an administrative appeal, and that's probably gonna end up staying, but we'll leave that as is for now as well, I think, because that's what is directed to us. So we did make it through that 1 and 2, so I think we are good for tonight, if everybody else is good for tonight. 8:10, I think that's good.
so we're gonna maybe decide on what we're gonna try to accomplish next time?
Yes, the timeline that I set out last meeting was that we were going to Articles 3 and 4, so that is July through September we had through articles, so we were ahead of
Okay.
schedule.
So
So we'll take a look at sections 3 and 4 again. At the end of the day, they might be a lot of tabling to do until we make it through section 6.
Mhm.
But we're highlighting all those spots and we'll go back to them
do more research or work
Yeah,
on them.
for sure.
I agree.
Once we get some input from SMPDC, I think that'll be.
Is there a way to make a note, or will we remember, like what we just said on the last one? How, even though we tabled it,
Oh, where we
like what were we thinking right now? We were thinking, if you had 2 acres and you had a 40-acre parcel, what were we thinking at this moment?
I
You know?
actually keep those notes in here, but
Okay.
my book's a mess. I put all of those notes in here and.
Okay.
It's a lot
So you could
it's a lot
recall
of
it.
extra work. You can make notes
Yeah.
on the document, but it's a lot of extra work.
Maybe we should implement that
And then-
though.
And then you can hover over it and get a little idea of what was
Well, yeah,
the discussion
right,
was
right.
on it.
Right.
Right.
That might be
Just
an
so
idea
we
to
don't have to
edit-
reinvent
add
the
notes
wheel.
To these
Just
sections.
just right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been a while, but I
Right.
think you can just right click.
You
and-
can, and
add
you
a
can
note,
add a
so-
note to it and say, this is
And then
what
it
we were
stands
thinking.
out or that's a little.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll work on that next time then, for sure. Okay, guys, I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
And I have second.
I'll third it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Thank you,
Now we
guys.
can go watch Hulk Hogan.
Public 5 minutes ago.
All these people in the audience want to speak now.
Oh, we didn't ask if anybody wanted to speak.
I'm gonna shut that go loud off.
Just so everyone knows, there's no one in the audience.
I'm not kidding. It's true. Breaking news, big bulletin. Hulk Hogan's gonna speak at the RNC. I'm like, holy shit.